Hi everyone, hope you're all safe and well, and welcome to another Disney Infinity tutorial. And you'll be pleased to know this is the last stage of our solo level. After this clip you will be able to build the entire toy box level right from scratch. I'm going to cover every element here, and one of the things I'm going to show you first is when I did this playthrough here as a test run, I jumped on the ship, timed it late, so it came slightly later than ahead of the ship, which means the transporter is quite further down the line, but it still worked, still did its job, so it all works rather well. And you'll see I've picked Solo again. I was going to use another character, but Solo is too good. I think it's his kicking off that I really prefer on here. But we're going to go through the final elements of this clip, which was how to get the transporter to fly down to the wreckage of the destroyed train, pick up one of the carriages and fly off, and your mission is complete. So that's what we're going to look at. We're also going to look at certain other elements, which is the landscape, the sound effects, what we use to start the level, and other bits and pieces. Now, I was going to try and sneak in a Star Destroyer in this level to fly around the top and chuck TIE fighters out. Just to let you know, that is not possible. I added a Tauntaun in here to start my level to travel across, and that just pushed it over the edge. It didn't stop working, but I didn't get as many enemies appearing, so I had to get rid of that because I was only getting one Stormtrooper at a time. So we really did push this to the max, I think. I don't think we're going to get another level as close as this, but it's turned out really well. I'm also going to cover turning down the death rates. So my suicidal Stormtroopers that scream occasionally don't scream as often, so I'm going to cover that as well in this particular clip. And then you'll have everything to do this half term or with your areas in lockdown again, because in the UK we're going through regional lockdowns. So what more better to do than to rebuild this level? Yeah. Let me know how you've done. I know Blast 190, you've nearly finished yours, so hopefully this will be your final touch. Do you see that? I jumped off. You can see I've been getting better on this because I can actually jump off from a third-person angle. My shooting's also improved. That's another good thing in this particular part. Sorry for the slight delay on this though. I got slightly sidetracked with Gran Turismo Sport. I want to platinum that game, and it's one of the hardest games I think you can platinum. So I did get slightly sidetracked, and the reason for that is I found I was very good on one particular track, and one of the trophies you have to get is I think like 91 online race victories. Yeah. Which was ridiculous, but because I was really good at this one particular track, in 1 week I managed to get 70 wins, so I'm a little bit closer on trying to get that platinum, which is quite good. But that's why I got a little bit sidetracked. But then I've just gone through all the clip and I've edited it all through, so hopefully this will all follow and make sense, and you'll have to let us know how it goes. Also, let me know what other games you're playing, by the way. While you're in lockdown or while you're going through. And what games are you looking forward to at Christmas? Are you all getting excited about Assassin's Creed? I'm going to bypass on that game this year. Odyssey was good, and I liked Odyssey. I think I preferred Origins out of the two, but Odyssey was just probably too big. But the game for me this year I'm looking forward to is Cyberpunk. That's my next biggie. And also, I'll be also testing to see if Disney Infinity runs any faster on the PlayStation 5. So we'll keep a lookout for that. Fingers crossed it will. But that's my game that I'm looking forward to next. So give us a heads up what you're looking forward to playing. There's quite a fair few games coming up. You've got your Call of Duties. What else is there? There's Sackboy coming out. So some good titles coming out. And also, if any of you getting hold of a PS5 or on the next Xbox series, were you going for next gen? Let me know in the comments below. Right, now as we see the crash again, you will now see it from a different angle, but this time so you can see what we're doing with the ship. And this is what we're going to monitor on this clip, is that we're going to follow the ship round, and that's what we're going to do. Gotta admit, it still looks good in any angle, that crash. I have to say, that's, even though we put it together and everything, I still think it was probably the best thing I've done in Infinity, and has given me the buzz to try and top that. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, so the next few clips you'll find out what I've got in store, but I've got a new level I'm working on, so hopefully we can make it as grand as this. We'll see how we do. But you'll see here we'll pick up the Coaxium and off we fly, and that is what we're going to focus on, and the final touches to this level. So we're going to jump straight into where we left off. But I do like this bit, by the way. Just look, as we fly away, the stormtroopers shoot us off as we fly off. I quite like that as a nice little touch. That was quite cool. Right, so let's get ready. Straight where we left off in the last clip, we are going to continue the path off from the transporter. Okay? So, using the path tool, we are going to go to where our new transporter flies to the edge and stops. And you'll notice here, I've just lowered it a slightly fraction below the section box. And I picked the middle part, because that's the section we're going to go, and we're going to fly the ship round. So you'll see here, I'm just panning the ship round. You'll also notice I'm making sure I'm avoiding the trigger area, because if the ship comes down into the trigger area, that's going to kill me because I'm on the ship. So I'm flying around, coming over the trigger area, and then we're going to fly curve back round underneath it. And it didn't have to be exact because I want you to look at the wreckage while we're flying round. So you see, I'm just trying to get the path. Now luckily the path tool, and I don't know how, is still working at this point. Yeah, I've reloaded and saved it back up, and the path tool still works, which is great. We do lose the path tool again, so be wary of that. So hopefully your path tool will be there and long enough for you to get the path in place, because the next two paths you don't see at all, so you are going by the dots. But I was quite pleased that you could still see this, because otherwise it gets very hard to see where it goes. And you'll see here I'm trying to now get to the dots where the wreckage is, where we got the crash. And again, because the crash is random, we don't know where the pieces are going to be, so we're not actually going to pick up one of the actual carriages from the train. We're going to pick one that we've got hidden under the ground that looks like it was under the snow and gets pulled up. So a slightly little cheat there, but it was it's no other way of doing that. You can't reset this path at all. I know a couple of you tried to do that, and that is just not possible. Now, one thing we do need to do when we come to our ship, we need to try and level it out. So you'll see here I'm trying to keep them now all on the same level, and you need a number of dots close together because I want to do a start and stop. But I'm trying to, so I didn't like that, that was crap. So what I'm going to do here is I want a couple of links here because I want to make it as straight as possible. Hopefully it's going to land over the wreckage, but you want to keep them as straight, and in fact probably smaller little gaps between the two. Right, so this means it will level out. And the more little clips we've got, the more at this point we can stop and start it. So you do need a few of these. Don't have too big a gaps, that will cause you problems. So you'll see here there want to be little gaps over the wreckage, and then you can fit that in, and you'll see there that I can get the ship to be leveled out and straight. So nice few little lines, comes in straight, it will then turn and then fly off again. Now what we're planning to do is for the ship to fly out of sight, yeah, and that's it done. Yeah, I'm not going to get it to it. I'm going to switch the path off, and then it will just stand there at the end, and that is the end of our mission. There's no reset button. You'd have to reload it. Now, because something like this is so big and you don't want it to corrupt, I would always make sure you've got a couple of variations of this. So either call them test and have no one play with the test levels. I know some of you are worried that your kids might delete this once you've created it. So I create some ones do not use or do not play and store them elsewhere, and hopefully no one will touch those. And you can say you can play the rest. So if you break it, you've always got like a master copy to hold back onto. And at this point, I was still amazed you could see the line tool. I was like, I can't believe I still see that. But that got roughly what I wanted. The ship flies through, which is straight done. So that is one of the units that flies around. So we've now got to do the same for the other part, because remember the transporter's got three parts to it. It's got the base, it's got the post, and it's got the ship. So we need to go and do exactly the same again. Now I picked the middle one because it was easier. Yeah, so we got the three paths. So we're going to pick the bottom one. So the first one I dropped down one. So we're just going to go down one box, and this is straightforward, easy. You point to the exact same box. So we know it's one square, two squares down. So two squares down. So every point you go across is going to be two squares down. So get a line on it, then two down. Yeah, click on it, and then move on to the next. You'll notice when I do this, right, you'll see like I pause and recheck, and that's because I tend to be doing these late at night, and from what I gather, and to correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of dads are doing levels for their kids, yeah? So you tend to be doing late at night because they've gone to bed, and your wife or your partner want to watch TV, so you tend to go on this about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I know a lot of you have been doing some very late night building. The things we do to create these levels, yeah, but I know that, so you get very tired, yeah, so take your time. Definitely don't watch something while doing this at the same time, because if you forget where you've gone, oh my god, yeah, it's a nightmare. So it's two boxes down. Now because we're going down at a slope, the actual parts of the ship will move slightly out of sync. So what I mean by that is the platform that the person is on is actually going to move further and further down the back of the ship, but you're not going to really notice it. You won't actually notice. So if you look at the ship goes through, it starts off in the middle, and as we come round and we get further apart, because when it dips it's slightly different, it stretches out, that platform moves further towards the back of the screen, but it's only slowly, so you don't actually notice as much, but it is towards the end of the track when you get through there. And we'll just level this through 2 boxes. And you can see now the top line has now disappeared. Yeah, you can't see it, it's gone. So I was just lucky it held in there so we can see where it's gone, but at least I can still see the dots, which is great. And I think I haven't used the path tool in as many ways as I have in this particular level, because not only have we got the path tool for the transporter, for the train, we've even got the path tool for doors, we've even got path tool for levels, we've even got path tool for roofs of the base. We've used the path tool ridiculously, and I'd say this is one of the major differences between, I think, 2 and 3. This tool is fantastic. Oh, that's another thing, by the way. I was just thinking, what were the guys who created Disney Infinity doing? They've worked on a new game called Hogwarts, haven't they? Hogwarts Legacy. That looks quite good. So that's another new game coming that looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one as well. Right, that's my path done. So that was the easy bit. This is the tricky one now. The next one's the top one, which is higher up, and I believe that is 5 squares high, but you can check with the setup we've done. And obviously keep saving as you go along. If you're happy with what you've done, the question is, well, how often do you want to save? And the question is, if you lost this now, would it really drive you insane? So if you can't cope doing that 2 parts again now, that's when you want to save it. Now you'll see here I'm counting how many squares up to the other box. Right, and you'll notice I think it was 5, yeah, 1, 2, so I'm going to go down 1, so I now know it's 5 squares. So I've got to find the next box. So that's the first one. Just double checking. You can see I get very confused. It's late at night. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5 or 6. On my count, I've lost count myself. Let's have a quick count. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was 5. Yeah, thought it was. Now another thing you can do with this level is you can remove these path tools, and then you can do different objects. You could be a race around the place, it could be you use one of those wing jet packs, you can do variations to this level to save it as. So tell me what variation, how did you train this? Did you build it exactly as it is, or did you do a different track? I think I mentioned in one of my previous clips, there's a TV series called The Snowpiercer or something. It's a train that doesn't ever stop. The world's destroyed, and there's a train that goes round and round and round around the world, and it just never stops, and people live on the train. You could do a level like that you don't have to do landscape, just do the train going round, and it's a massively long track going round the section, and you've got to go along each part. So you could do it something on that style, just using the same logic as we've done through in this one. Now I will also be doing my Halloween challenge that Papa H has given us, which is to do the toy box one, which is to do with the chest. So that will be coming soon as well. I've got obviously the next clip is going to be the full playthrough. Then I'm going to show you some failures that I did. Yeah, that's the plan. I showed you a massive Avenger. A lot of you asked me to do an Avenger Infinity War or Avenger War. I did try and do a massive one. I did do Wakanda, but I did try and do a massive one, and I'm going to show you where that didn't work. So I'm going to show you some ideas that didn't work that you could probably pick and use variations off of there. Then I'm going to do my little challenge, and then I'm going to crack on with my other big level, which, to give you a hint, is a bit like Supremacy in Star Wars Battlefront 2. So it's a bit like that, so we'll see how that goes. If it turns out horrendous, then I'll obviously make up an excuse and come up with another level. Okay, here we go. So we're going through all these. Now, it's a bit slow as we go through here, but towards the end of this clip it's going to speed up. It's going to be very short, quick things of all the little missing objects that we've missed off, and that's like the sound, the wind, there's a platform edge on the side that we haven't done. So there's a few little things we're going to chuck in here. So although it goes quite slowly, I guarantee the end does speed up with all the different little parts we do. And I show you how I get to start this level. There are 2 different ways. I'm going to show you both methods. But but I like my method, my final method that I chose, because if I want to change it or something goes wrong, I can. I'll explain it when I get there, but I'll show you that towards the end of this one as well. Right. So we get our 5 up, almost there. And then the last one. You can't see the lines at all now, so we just hope it is working. And we circle out that. So that's our ship path. It's going to fly round. And I did say the right word there. It did sound a bit wrong, I have to say, but it was ship, as in transporter ship, coming round. Right, so there's our little tool coming through on the screen. That's going to fly round. They're going to bend round the screen and carry on from there. Right, so what we need to do here is we need a logic gate. Okay, because one of the things we need to do with this logic gate is we need to turn on the path. Because remember, the path that comes along, if I phrase this correctly, the path that is used once we leave it following the train, all we have is always permanently turned on. So this path over here, I'll come all across here. So over here, when we've hit our 4 targets, we jump onto this path, which is permanently turned on. So we actually have some logic that already turns it off, but we then need to reactivate this path. So I need this logic gate to turn this item back on. So how do we get the ship to then carry on travelling? Because the ship stops, remember, for us to jump onto it. So in this case, I'm going to need a logic gate, and this logic gate is going to turn this path back on, even though this path default is set to being turned on. Because remember, once we get the ship and it gets to the end, we turn it off, so we need to reactivate it back on again. So on output, can we turn on those 3 paths? Okay. Now that I've got that set up, I'm going to bring that all the way back over to this particular point. Because we have a logic gate here that when we get to a certain point, we're going to stop the ship. So we need another fantastic trigger area. And you'll see our little memory is having a little field day. But don't worry, we've already used a trigger area before, so it shouldn't take up too much memory. So I'm just positioning where our ship stops, which is about here. And it works exactly the same principle as we did with the other transporter when it stopped for us to jump on underneath the landing bay. So this is exactly the same thing again. When we jump into this trigger area, we're going to turn the path on and the ship will carry on travelling and then drop down onto the new path. And you'll see here I was spinning around long enough just so I could explain that, but basically I got completely confused where the ship stopped and I was like, oh my god, what am I doing? So I'm just going to resize that. So stretch that out. Okay, it doesn't have to be exact because I have to just go across to trigger it. So what I do now is when I enter that trigger area now, so when my ship stopped, it comes to rest, but when I enter that, so new logic connection, when entered, now you could use any, but you might want to choose player, right? And the reason for that is a stormtrooper might go on it, so I would choose player, just in case a stormtrooper jumps on, and then, because you're seeing them, my suicide will jump to left and right, we're going to input into there, which will then turn those on, and that will move. So we're going to move that down to the side, and that will then move across, drop onto the bottom path, so they all transfer here. So in this connection, when point reach ends a path, can we jump onto this path? So connect trigger and actor to path. So we'll connect that there, and then we do the same with the next one. So when point reaches on path, so new logic connection when point reaches on path. So when it gets to the end, right, can we connect trigger action to the path below? So connect trigger and actor to path, that will drop down and it will now start on the new path on the screen, right? And the last one, the one above, went too low, new logic connection, when point reached on path, drop down on the section below, and that now moves down through the list. So when reached on path, can you connect trigger actor? There you go, and we now get connected. Dun, dun, dun. That's it. So that now sets that across. And we've connected our trigger actor to the path. So that now moves the ship round, which will now fly round all the way across the screen. So we can get rid of that logic gate. So that's going to fly all the way around there and carry on from the side. So let's get rid of that logic gate. That logic gate's done, so we'll move that out of the way. So we'll bring that down and we'll store that in our little pile of stuff down here, trying to remember where we've kept all these little things. So that turns on the gate. So that side is the thing that switches things on. Okay? Which is cool. Okay, so that now flies round and away it goes from there. Triggered air goes through on the screen. Now what we need to do is we want to keep the paths travelling at the same speed as well. So they're the trigger areas that we go through, which is connected to the side. But if you remember, the path was 200. So we need to go into each one of these and we need to change the property of this path to match the same speed. So I'm going to keep it 200. I thought 200 was good enough speed and hopefully should be in line with the train. So I'm going to change all those paths now to 200. It doesn't matter if you kept it to 100, it's okay. Okay, now let's see if I can remember the way I've edited this on the side. So the other thing we need to do is I need another logic gate, and that logic gate needs to turn this new set of paths off because it has to stop over the wreckage. Yeah. So I need a logic gate now, and what this logic gate is going to turn off the ship. So when the ship flies through and it's over the wreckage, I need to stop it. So I'm going to do on output. Can we go into here and can we turn off that option? So can we turn off that path? Brilliant. New logic connection. On output. Can we turn off the middle one? It's the green one we need to turn off. Where is it? Yeah, where? See, probably should have done this before I did the trigger area. That would have been a little bit more easier, but hey, well, we want to make it easy for ourselves. So new logic connection. On output. There you go. Connect trigger and active. Turn that off. Okay, so that turns that item off, so we can move that out of the way. And we're going to turn that off when it gets to certain points within our particular level. So we'll grab that and we'll move that down out the side. And we'll place that to the left of it so we know right side is on, left is off. So I've got either side there. Okay. Okay. So that's good. Our ship comes flying round and it's going to fly over here. Now when it gets to the very end of this level, we're done. Yeah, so instead of going to the end because it will jump back to the beginning, I'll say right, new logic connection, when point reaches on path, can we turn it off? We've flown all the way through and that's our mission end. So can we go to there and can we input into that one? And that is going to input there. So that'll finish it, but it'll stop it once it goes outside. We're going to stop it again, we're going to need that to use that more than once. So we're going to have to that's going to do the end of the level, but also above the wreckage we need to do as well. So they're the three path tools that we've got connected, and I'm just double checking there it was switching the thing off because already I'd got confused where that item was. Right, that's that set up, which is quite good. So we're now going to look where the wreckage is, and we leveled up a few of these little pieces quite close together. So you'll see here I've got the three little boxes together. So this is where our ship is going to hang directly above it. Okay, so that's going to be. So what we're going to do here is on that logic point we're going to have a platform stop there, and then we're going to have a path come up directly underneath it. So what we want to do here is when we get to there, can we stop the ship again? So new logic connection, when point reaches on path, can we go all the way over here and can we input again into this particular path? Okay, and can we input into there? That is then going to stop the ship directly over the crash wreckage, which is exactly what we wanted. Yeah, so that's on that particular route. So we now need another path tool. And you go, oh my god, not another one. Yep, I think this is the last one. So that is where the ship stops. Okay, so underneath here we are going to put the new luggage. So this is going to be one square directly underneath it. So just one underneath it, because this is the path now for the carriage. Yeah, so I'm thinking how far underneath. I just want it to be exactly one square. In fact, did I do two? I can't remember. What did I do? Oh, I did two because I did want it to be clunked inside, so it hovers. It's like a big giant magnet. I thought it was two. Yeah, two was the box I did. And again, after each point, two squares, we're going to have that go down the side. Okay. Cool. Set this one up again, two down. And then we get last couple. Brilliant. There we go, circle out. Right. So what we're going to do here, we'll go from here. When we get the end of this path, I don't want the carriage, otherwise what happens is if we don't do this, the carriage is going to go through. So when point reaches on path, what we want it to do is we want it to stop. So we're going to turn off that path when it gets to the bottom there. So can we turn it off? Because if we don't do that, the carriage will then just fly above the wreckage again and it'll look odd. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have a path underneath the ground that's going to come up and then move across. So we're going to put that directly underneath the ground. Yeah, so I'm hiding that along the ground. I'm just going to go straight up, and then once it's level with the dot, so I'm going vertically straight up, no change. We're hoping that some wreckage is going to be in the way. You'll see here I'm putting a couple of little squares in because I don't tend to do it on the top there, but we have our 3 little squares there on the screen. So as it comes up, when it gets that part in line with it, we're going to get on the screen. So in this case here, new logic connection on there. So new logic connection, point reached on path. Can we connect the object to this path here? And that means the rectangular box is going to come up this path and then jump across onto that one, which is going to be quite cool. Now we're not going to be worried about the speed of the object coming up from here, but we are worried about the speed of the object when it comes onto the connection. So we need to make sure the properties of this is set to 200. Okay, so we need to make sure that it's the same speed as the transporter, otherwise they won't work. But the one coming up doesn't actually matter. Yeah, so this transporter speed can stay slow 50. It's being sucked up from the ground, so it doesn't really matter on here on this side. Right, so what we need to now do is get one of our carriages, which is one of these basically basic blocks. Now be careful, by the way, formatting this, because I panicked. When you colour this in and you use your little triangle, don't do theme all, because if you do, you will lose all your eagle's nest. So you just want to do apply and then come out. You'll notice I made that mistake. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to connect it to this path. So what we're going to do here is we're going to turn this path off. So property of this one is going to be off. And by the way, you do not, when you connect it to the path, change the orientation. Otherwise the container is going to come up pointing. You want it to be flat. So we're just going to keep it as it is. So you'll see mine comes at an angle. It doesn't really matter. But if you go on this box now, we're going to do new path connection and connect to the object. But we're not going to change the oriented path, because otherwise it comes up vertically. We want it to come up horizontally and go across. And if it's a slight angle, that doesn't really matter. It works quite well because we've grabbed it in our magnet. So that's how we're working for that one. So we're going to connect it to toy point path. Now sits on there, which is quite nice. And that'll follow up and move across onto that box. So the only thing here is when our transporter flies across, so one of the earlier points before it comes to the stop, so the one before we stop it, was so when new object comes on here, can we turn on this path? So when point reaches path, can you turn it on? So the other one stops it, but the one before it starts the suction up to bring the container up. And that's going to fly up there, and when it comes to the top, it's going to jump onto the other path. So what we need to do is we need to restart our new path. So guess what? I need another logic gate. Okay, so I've edited this in a certain way round so you can see why the order that it follows. So if I get me another logic gate, now this one, okay, this is going to turn on the new path because we just switched it off. So I'm going to do new logic connection, and you may think we've just done this. No, we haven't. So on output, can we switch on our very new 3 links? We did the switch on for the other side. This is for this particular object. So you do need to do this one. You haven't already done it, so don't panic. It is correct. And this is why I had to double check when I was doing the editing, because I didn't realise I'd missed this link out altogether, which would have been disastrous for you. Okay, here we go. We switch that on. So that now switches that path on. Okay, great. So now when that container gets sucked up, what we're then going to do is say, right, can you now switch on that path and can we send it across? So I'm going to put this to the other side. So we have the one switch on, this one is a turn on. Okay, so that's now done. So what we can do is we go back to our little tool here and we say, right, when the point gets to this path here, right, when it gets to that point, we know it's going to turn on there, but what we're going to do now is new logic connection. When point reached on path, not only are you going to jump onto the other container, but you're going to start the path above you, which means the ship's going to carry on flying through. and you can input there, and away you go. The ship will now fly off together with the container. Ta-da! So the only thing we need to do, as the ship flies along here and goes off and gets to the end, which we've done our little stop option, before we get too close to the end, we might as well get them a little message. So I say, when point reaches on path, a new little connection, when point reaches on path, let's tell them that the mission is complete. Now the good thing is we've already got one of these speech bubble tools already in the system. So if we go all the way back to our other logic for our previous stuff that we did in clip 5, we have these little speech bubbles. And if you go all the way down to, which one is it? It's not victory, by the way, it is missions. Yeah. And I have to say, whoever they designed a fantastic game, but this prefix bubble was pants. No, there's not a lot in there that I use. But you'll notice there I did the duration for 2 seconds and it's a banner, but that will get me the bubble to say we've completed our little mission. So what we can do now, so now we've done that, is I'm going to change my death rate. Okay, and this kill here is the logic we used. We had a trigger area that when you fall into it, we had the trigger area that killed it. Now I'm going to delete that trigger area out. Going to get rid of it. So this is the speaker we use, that when a player enters a trigger area, it does the scream. I'm actually going to delete that link, and I'm going to bring this speech bubble, right, and I'm going to place it above my enemy generators for the troopers that are on the ship. Okay, and all I'm going to do here is, instead of doing it for all of them, I'm going to pick 2. So in this case, what I'm going to do on this case, just so we don't have the screams all the time, I'm going to do a new logic connection. When enemy defeated, can we play a scream for that particular one? So can we do, I think it is vocal, and then it is it normal scream? What is it called? It's called classic scream. So I did the one at the front and I did the one in the middle, and I left the others at their own. So the others, you'll get the old grunts, deaths, but this one's with the enemies defeated, it will do the scream. So they'll even get a scream if you shoot them, but that was just to keep the screams coming down because it was a bit too much. So I did it that way around instead. So you can either do it when you enter the area, or you can do it when they die. And the other thing with the properties of that speaker, just to recap, I turned off the 3D sound and I brought it down to 70, about 60, because I thought it was too much. So that was the adjustment for the screams that we did. Right, another thing we're going to do now, another little adjustment, is I placed these trigger areas all out the way while I was doing my testing. I can now bring those back down. So in one of my earlier clips, I've raised them up into the sky. This is just showing me just bringing them back down. I think we left them on the screen, but I lifted them up so I could test it. So in case you've done that while you were doing it, and it's also a good thing to show you, I'm just going to place them back down. So while you were testing it, I moved the trigger areas out of the way, and all I'm doing is just moving them back down. The logic just stays. Also, any of your test buttons that you've done, they can now go. So we can get rid of those. So again, those trigger areas can sit up there. They're all set up. That's all cool. Right, that's done. That's section tidied. Right, what's next? Right, I think. Oh, I know what next is. It's this bit here, the walker thing, where the section here where they come to the screen. I didn't show you me building this, and all this is basic blocks. Yeah, so it's using the Tatooine metal, and all I created was a platform, and it goes in a spiral staircase. So you'll see some rectangular blocks. And it's just building a stairway from there going round up to the top. So I'm not going to show you how I built it. You can see there from the logic I've done it. They are just bricks, and I've just placed them around so you can have some stairway going up. So just set some blocks up so it looks like a stairway going up, so you can carry your pilot up there. For some reason it doesn't want to walk. There's that section. Right, now this I've already pre-done, but I'm going to show you what I've set up here. Okay, so you need a logic gate. Okay. You need a time delayer, 2 repeaters, and 2 speakers. Okay, so you've got a repeater. Now that logic gate is what triggers it, and our repeater, our time delay's got a 5-second delay. Okay, and those repeaters each have a 10-second delay. So what you'll see here is new logic connection. On output, can we, and you'll still see little lights, can you highlight that time delay, and can you start the first repeater? So the signal comes in, it sets that going off, and it also sets that goes straight there, and it goes to that one as well. Okay, now what that does is, you look at the property of this one, that property is set to 10 seconds. Okay, and we've got an effect there. On repeat, can we do a sound? This repeater is also set for 10 seconds as well. Okay. Now, just to make that line up easy, I'm just going to move that down because it's actually in line with that. So the path tool goes into two routes. It goes to one repeater and it goes to one timer. Yeah. So what happens is the first cloud sound gets started. And what we say is when that first sound is right on repeat, so new logic connection, we do on repeat, so which we do on this one. Yeah. So linking up to that sound speaker, on repeat, what do you want to do? Can we do nature and can we do stormy wind? Okay, and that sets to that speaker. And now to the other speaker, because we want two speakers going off, new logic connection, sound effect, repeat, nature, stormy wind, but it's going to the other speaker. Now both those speakers, I've switched the 3D sound off. Otherwise you can only hear it nearby. So I switched it off and I reduced the sound of the wind down to 10. If I could have done it quieter, I would have done. I would have loved one to be 10 and the other one 5, so it was a bit of a distance wind, but that then gets that cycle going of the constant wind. As one cuts out, the other one cuts back in, and that plays continuously. And all I need to do to trigger that off is input a signal into that logic gate, and that will have the wind going through, which we'll do in our starter. So you'll see here, for my test purposes, I created two buttons. One button for the wind and one button that would trigger the train. So when I was doing my test, I'd press that first before doing recording, and it would just input my signal into the gate that we showed you, and the train will appear, and then I'll do my capturing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to find that logic gate. And it gets a little bit messy in this section. You go, oh my god, how much is the logic gate we did? We've got the logic gates for the troopers, we've got the logic gates for the targets. So if we look a little bit higher up, just in front of the carriages, there's a logic gate on its own, which is this one. And sadly, you can't see the joins anymore. Yeah, but it is that one. Maybe you need to position that in a slightly better place. But what that one does is you'll see it's connected to all the paths, so I can relax. That's the one that switches all those paths on, and I've got that logic gate here. So that is what triggers off those gates. Now, what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to show you one method, but I'm not going to use this one. Okay, one is using a level starter. Okay, so what we can do is we'll create a level starter that will trigger this off. So when the level loads up, this triggers it off, which means the train starts straight away and the wind starts playing. Problem with that is that if you want to change anything, you can't, because the train has already gone on its way. So one way around that is to do this, right? Put your level starter in, right? But because this is such a large level, it takes a long while to kick in, and sometimes I've done this too small. So with your delay, set your delay to 60 seconds, right? Not 5, not 15, because by the time it still loads up, you haven't got enough time. Give yourself 60 seconds, which means you can go to design mode and you can delete this section off. That gives you, if you want to change anything or make an adjustment, you can do that before the train starts moving, because once the train starts moving, you're stuffed, you can't do it. Okay, so after 60 seconds, that will activate it and that will start off. So what we'll do here is new logic connection on catalyst. Can we start the train? So that will start that one. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. New logic connection on catalyst. Can we start the other option? And we're going to go all the way over to our little wind hidden in the corner, which you can't see. And can we input into the wind scenario, which will then set off that cycle for the wind. Now that would do it, which means as soon as you load the level up, after 60 seconds, hey presto, it will now work. Yeah, which means I can get rid of these buttons now. I don't need those, so they can be deleted off the system. Now that's one method. This is the one that I chose because I might want to change my mind or change the type of level. So that was method 1. Method 2 is, well actually I've got myself started outside the base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a trigger area. Yeah, another trigger area, right? And I'm going to place that just in front of the square. And to trigger it off, all you got to do is just walk into that area. So if I want to change my mind or make an adjustment to it, I just walk, when I load up, I just walk backwards and nothing is started off. Yeah, I could do a challenge marker if I wanted to. Yeah, the reason why I didn't want to do a challenge marker, it didn't fix my aesthetic ambience. I thought I'd get reusing that word. We haven't had many words of the days, have we, for a while? I think let's go back to those. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that one instead. So I'm going to input the signal into here. But a challenge marker would do the same thing. But the only reason why I don't use the challenge marker is, in this particular case, is because you can't reset it. You have to reload the whole level up. So my question is, right, just walk in and away you go. So new legend click when entered. Buy any. Now you could do player, but it doesn't matter. Once it's started, it doesn't matter. And you can input in there. Now the other thing I did also is we had a load of trees and fantastic trees, the hidden objects. They don't work, by the way. That blew the memory, so I had to delete those out. So we had to lose a few objects, which was a bit of a shame. But that is all the logic you need. That's the logic that I used, which means I can get rid of the level starter now, and that level starter is a new tool. So again, that should free a little bit more memory up. So get rid of that, and that's gone. Don't need that one. So you can use that one there instead. Now, obviously, before you test it, save it. And that's how your level works. And the last thing I'm just going to recap on now is we're just going to have a look at my mountain range and just the type of things I did to the mountain. So after you've got the gaps, all I then started to do is try to fill in the gaps with the different types of rock faces. So they came out from a slant. So you'll see here, these are all different landscape tools. And if I just click onto one of these, you'll see in a moment, but you can do different cliff edges. So if I click onto that, right, so under the terrain tool, you've got these like cliff edges things, like put a couple in here. Now obviously the more variations you use, the more memory it takes up, so be wary, but I just scattered those around. So I've got ledges halfway through, and you'll see here what I did with the ledges. I was trying to hide the join, so you couldn't see it was a join on the screen on the big block, so that was the main reason why I chucked those in. But again, I've got the slant half castles going across, and I had this massive block for that tower. And because it was so high, it really had to be quite wide. It didn't work. So if you look at this, it's very crude. It's just a load of square boxes that I used here. So you'll see a very few square boxes to get me up to level, and then I've just chucked on the stuff around the edge to hide the fact that they are square boxes, which works quite well. As you see, those just by adding a few little things on the side, just distorts it enough. And you'll see here I've got my little landscape to look on that side of the pillar. It doesn't have. It's a mountain range, by the way, so it doesn't have to fit flush. It doesn't have to be neat. That's the cool thing about it, and that's why it works so well. So I wanted them all taping like the snow had been built up. So you see a few of these I chucked in. Got a bit carried away with that corner piece there. Probably didn't need that corner piece there, but I thought, well. Not many on that side. Didn't come across that you needed. Cuts back in. And then we did the top options again. We just do different blocks. You don't actually notice the ones on the top. So these are little terrain tools that I chucked in, and all I've done is change the format to the mountain range. So I've just put slopes up. So anything where I could see a join or a line between two blocks, I try to put something in the way to hide those. So I don't mind the white rocks. I just didn't like the join. So if I could put something to try and distract you from that, that seemed to work. And again, there's no wrong answer to this. You just chuck them across. These are little squares made a little mountain on the top. I chucked, that's just a single piece. Yeah. So I stuck that on there over the mountain. I've got little ledges on the ridge just to hide the fact. And they don't fit all nice and neat. And that is it, guys. That is our level. Oh, you'll notice I've got a few little hidden boxes. These can be deleted. I can hide these out the way. Right, guys, I hope you've liked this series of tutorials. We'll get cracking on the next one as well, like I mentioned. The next clip will be the full playthrough, so we'll see how it all plays in one go. Thank you for following through, and hope stay all safe and well, guys. And let me know how yours turned out, or what variations differently you did. Cheers, guys. Stay safe, and speak to you all soon. Bye.